it's not a get rich quick. It's a get rich over or get wealthy over time, and it's very true.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, we've got the North Star Real Estate Conference coming April 24th and 25th in Minneapolis, and this conference is going to be for everyone. We're covering the gamut of real estate. If you are just beginning, this conference is for you. If you have 100, 200, 500 units, this conference is for you. If you want to get into commercial real estate, this conference is for you. And the best part about the North Star Real Estate Conference is the networking. The networking is phenomenal. We've got high performers there. We've got amazing speakers and amazing attendees that are going to be adding a ton of value to your business. We can't wait to see you there April 24th and 25th. Check it out. I'll see you there. Hey, welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me today, I'm excited to have Mike Strodtman. Mike, how are you doing today?
Very good, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show. A little bit about Mike. He lives in Bemidji, Minnesota, which is, if you don't know where that is, it's like pretty much Canada. Yeah. It's super cold. It's beautiful up there, though. Lives up there with his wife and 2 daughters. And he's been actively and passively investing in real estate for over 10 years. His portfolio consists of a number of single-family homes, along with duplexes, triplexes, and a quad. He has put important processes in place so he can manage his portfolio and continue to work his full-time day job. With that said, Mike, well, welcome to the show, and give our listeners a little bit more about kind of your background and what you're doing. What are you trying to achieve? You got this day job. What are you trying to do?
Yeah, exactly. No, it has been, it's amazing. 10 years, it's unbelievable how fast it goes by.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the day reading a book, hearing a podcast, whatever it might have been, about acquiring one house a year. It's like, boy, 10 years, wow, it seems like it seems like forever, and you're signing notes for a 5-year mortgage, with that balloon on the end. But it's like, wow, when is that day going to be here? And all of a sudden, before you know it, it's over. That day's come, that day's gone, and you're looking at the next one. And then you look back at your portfolio, and it's like, wow, we are taking steps. So yeah, I have been acquiring homes, properties for a little over 10 years. I had a business partner at first, and there was a while there we were doing, or for quite a long time, we were averaging 1 every 4 months and doing this on our own, nights, weekends.
And were you keeping those? Were you flipping them?
We kept every one of them. Okay. We did. Yeah. So we'd pick one up. We'd get it. We'd, close on a Friday afternoon, get in there Friday night, fix it up all day Saturday. And depending on the amount of work it needed, hopefully getting people in for tours on a Sunday afternoon. So some of them definitely took longer. We spent a lot of weekends, a lot of nights getting them prepared, but it was fun. It was a neat experience. And looking back, it had been, we should have bought 3 a month and brought other people to help. But when you're on a shoestring budget to start off with, that was the best way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could do that all over again, I'm sure. Well, let's talk the market that you're in. Tell our listeners a little bit about the market, the type of market that you're investing in, and then, I guess why.
Yeah. So I, as you mentioned, I live in northern Minnesota, mainly small communities, very small communities, and investing within about a 50-mile radius of my home. Again, my partner at the time lived about 40 miles away. So, and we were both kind of working in different areas, trying to find homes, pick up homes. A lot of workforce housing where we started. That was in the city of Park Rapids. So big need. So it worked out very well. We were able to pick up, you look at the years it was, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, through the recession, able to pick them up very reasonably. So then we transitioned up to Bemidji. I moved up to Bemidji.
When you say very reasonably, give me a price range.
Yeah, you're talking a lot of the places that we picked up were in that all the way from 40 to 65, 68, maybe $70,000 range, depending on how much work they needed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then we transitioned up to Bemidji, and up here we have a university, and we've really focused on college rentals. So
Okay.
that's kind of been our bread and butter. And they've been great tenants too.
Yeah. And just so people can kind of like wrap their head around Bemidji, it's a smaller town. What's the population? Like 10,000 people, 15,000 people?
Correct. Yeah. I think it's 14,000 people.
Okay.
Crazy. I mean, for some listeners, it's very, very extremely small. But for up in northern Minnesota, it's kind of the bigger communities in the area. So
yeah, it'd be like the capital of northern Minnesota.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, and then it's 4 hours north of the Twin Cities. So if people know where Minneapolis and St. Paul is, and they go, wow, that's really far up there. Bemidji is another 4 hours north, approximately.
Yes.
So it's a ways up there, but little beautiful land. If anybody wants to go up to northern Minnesota, definitely nice area.
Great spot to be in July and August.
Yeah, there you go. There's 2 months, and if you like snowmobiling, it's a good month in January, February, March.
That's right. Yeah, we've got to be just nearing 5 feet of snow so far. There's in our yard right now. There's at least 2.5, 3 feet. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So tell me now, you've got your full-time job and you've got a bunch of rental properties. Well, you might not be able to answer this because you've got a full-time job, but is it in your mind to, hey, let's just phrase it like this so you don't get in trouble. Is it in your mindset to maybe retire early, or do you just, is it, hey, I like kind of the position I'm in. I like building this rental portfolio one property at a time, and that's kind of where I want to be, and just set ourselves up for success? Or kind of take us through that mindset there?
Yeah, exactly. You hear of others that are looking to get out of their job. And I don't want to. I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy what I do. I really enjoy the people that I work with. I have a lot of fun with it. But like everybody else, we have 24 hours in a day. So you really have to be able to balance that. And what I've had to do is really focus on a smaller type system. I have a bookkeeper, and she collects all the rents. She pays all the bills. We talk via phone, email, whatever it might be, maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Obviously during tax season, a little bit more. But she takes care of all that for me. So it's one less thing on my plate. I've got a handyman, a very good handyman that is able and willing to take care of whatever, whenever. So those are huge. Without that, it would be very difficult, and it'd be frustrating and make me have to choose of what I want to do. But no, having the right systems in place, it's given me the opportunity to keep my job, which I do want to do. Obviously, it is. It's a get wealthy slow. And hopefully, if situation ever arises and I do want to retire early, whatever it is, I can. But yeah, I really enjoy my job right now.
So are you still buying, by the way?
I am, slowly. Obviously, as you know, across the nation, the real estate market has been very good. It has up here too, and I see people purchase these homes, and I thought, I look at it and, they may be breaking even, and they're okay with that, but I can't do that. I've worked really hard to form some good relationships in the area, and the last one I purchased here in September was from an individual that I know. Driving for dollars. You drive around and see for rent signs. Give them a call. See if they're willing to sell it. I'm not interested in buying or renting, but I would be interested in buying it. He wanted to keep that in the back of his mind. We kept in touch, and 7 years later, I bought it. So it's just kind of how that worked.
Did you kind of keep in touch with them and remind him, or was it just that one time?
Yeah, about once a year I try to reach out, and that one worked out. I had a different one that I lost out on a 12-unit apartment building, and just because they kind of forgot about me, I did reach out to them enough, and maybe I should have done it every 6 months or so. But anyways, it worked out to reach out once a year and just keep in touch, and slowly over time, he reached out to me and said, hey, I think I'm ready to sell. So
Yeah, that when you don't stay in touch, you don't stay top of mind. That bit me in the butt here recently on a 112 unit building that I had continually tried to contact the owner and just recently found out that they sold it off market.
Yeah.
You know, not to me.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you're reaching out to people that you build relationships with, and continuing to do that. Are you finding deals kind of on market as well, or is it all kind of off market? What type of things are you doing to try to get yourself, that property every year or more through this market?
Yeah, exactly. Reaching out to brokers, keeping good relationship with realtors. And then I'm also the vice president on Headwaters Landlord Association. So it's nice being able to get and meet and know other landlords in the area too. And, building relationships there, letting them know that, hey, I'm still looking to buy, and just planting some seeds. So that's kind of been the best way. On market's been tricky. They're going fast and they're going for probably 15% more than I'd be wanting, or 20% more than I'd want to pay. So.
Yeah. And you just got to kind of stay patient with that, because when you're not cash flowing, that's something that you just mentioned a little bit ago. People are buying these things and they're not cash flowing and they're okay with that. First of all, I don't know how anybody's okay with that. That doesn't make sense. You've got more money than I know, or I have, because man, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you would buy without cash flow. So you just got to stay patient. You've got to make sure that you've got a sound business plan in place and model in place and understand, where the market is and really what your overall game plan is. Because your game plan isn't to just have a bunch of assets that are liabilities that are losing money, I'm assuming. It sounds like your game plan is to actually make money on these properties.
Yeah, exactly. I greatly enjoy having rental properties, but there comes times where there's a tenant that doesn't work out, the furnace goes out, and those start adding up. And if you're not making any money, it takes all the fun out of it.
Yep.
Dip out. So I definitely make sure that they cash flow very strong up front. And like you said, you just be patient and pick them up slowly but surely. But the last thing you want to do is get frustrated and or lose it just due to a bad decision on one. So I'd rather work slow and steady.
Yeah, and I don't know if your portfolio is the same as mine. I bought all these 1 to 4 family properties and still hold a bunch of them, and did full renovations. Most of them replaced furnaces, roofs, and so pretty much everything. So you would say, hey, my CapEx budget should be nothing right away. But I found that through the years that through whether it's poor tenants or a furnace replacement or whatever it is, that these properties, even though we think they're going to make that $500 a month or whatever it might be, they really, in reality, when you take the global and look at it, they really don't make kind of what you say they're going to make on paper in the end. I mean, some of them do better, some of them do worse. Some years they do really amazing, and then other years they make negative. And so when you look at it globally, it's actually not maybe quite as good as what you originally anticipated. So that's what gets me, like when people are like, well, I'm buying it, it's break even, we're good.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, that roof will need to be replaced at some point. So you need to set up your capital reserves so that you're planning to throw some money, to the side to replace that at some point. And yeah,
what do you put per, let's talk single family or like duplex. What are you putting for a reserve budget, per month, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, so I kind of break it out depending upon how it looks when I buy it. If you want to take the last place that I bought, I know that roof has to be replaced in 7 years, and so I'll just work the numbers backwards. I look at the siding, look at the windows, look at the furnace, look at the water heater, and just kind of try to get a guesstimate. And if you figure, I'm going to have to replace this roof in 7 years.
So you're taking that $5,000 or whatever it is.
Yep. And divide it up. And so that I have that all before I go and buy that property, that's all added in. And I can still meet the numbers that I want at the end of the day. And knowing that I'm putting those reserves aside.
Yeah, that's a really smart way to look at it. Is look, I mean, here are my realistic costs. Here's my estimate, knowing that maybe the roof lasts me 10 years, but maybe it only lasts me 5. Hopefully, if the roof only lasts me 5, then the water heater will last me a couple extra years. But you're taking it, you're breaking it down, you're being very thoughtful about, okay, I need to be setting aside $200 per month, every month here, to be able to pay for this CapEx in the future.
Yeah.
And as for you replace a roof, maybe you can tone that down just a little bit. Maybe it goes down to 175, or maybe you have to raise it up because all of a sudden the furnace, you're going, man, this furnace is going out in the next year or two. But you can always continue to look at it and keep that budget going.
Definitely. And even carpet, you put in brand new carpet and you just don't know how long, depending again on your tenant, how long that carpet's going to last. And that could be a fairly large ticket item. Hopefully you can get in there and replace some of the vinyl plank and be done with the carpet. But still, if you have one bad tenant and they trash that carpet after 2 years, it can become very expensive in a hurry. So,
yeah, you mentioned when you first started, you were kind of on this shoestring budget. You didn't have a ton of money. I'm assuming you didn't get a bunch of money from family. You didn't have this massive inheritance, and maybe I'm wrong, but take us through like that getting started process, and how could somebody replicate what you did to get to kind of where you are, to be able to, hey, I mean, there's a lot of people listening to the show that they might never want to quit their job. They've got a job that they really enjoy, or just they don't necessarily need or want 5,000, 10,000 units, and so they're going, hey Mike, man, what you're doing, that's exactly what I want to do. So how can somebody do that? How can somebody go from ground zero to scaling to getting something that's actually profitable, that they can be happy with?
Yeah, so it was interesting there too, how that journey works. In the height of the recession, you walk into some banks and tell them you're going to buy some properties, rent them out. And they're like, oh, no. We're not doing that right now. Thankfully, I had a great relationship. I still do with a bank. And they were able to give us a shot. So we bought, and I should take one step back before that. The realtor that we used at the time actually was fairly wealthy. And he was showing us properties, and he said, hey, if you like this house, I'll finance it. And so that was fun. Yeah. So, he financed it, and we ended up refinancing that, going to the bank, refinancing out of that and going to the bank. And again, I had a great relationship with the bank. So, if you can form relationships with local banks, it's huge.
Yeah. And form them now. Look, the economy is fantastic right now. Banks have so much freaking money, they don't even know what to do with it. Form those relationships now, because that way, when the bad times come, you've already got something built, and it's going to take a lot less time for them to trust you and form relationships with multiple banks. Because there's going to be, you might form a relationship with a bank that ends up like pretty much having to shut their doors. I mean, there was a lot of banks that were either close or ended up shutting their doors or selling. So form relationships with lots of different banks and get to know them. Right now, while money is like super plentiful.
Right. It is huge. And other people, you never know. Oh, we had our insurance agent actually financed another one for us. A couple of years later, we financed back into the bank. We were able to pick up some lots during the recession too, very, very cheap. The bank was able to give us the actual cash value of them minus 20% as downswings for other properties. The contract for deed. We did a contract for deed with another individual. We ended up buying a fourplex, a triplex, and a single family through them. And again, they ended up getting to know us and know who we were and our track record, and felt very comfortable with it. So, there are just a million of different ways of trying to find and being able to acquire funds, and just keep being creative. You know what I mean? And utilize those relationships that you built. Because even once you have a bank, talk to your other friends, if you know other investors, see which banks they use, go in and talk with them. Others will talk about having a little, this book that talks about what you've done. have some pictures, have some books if you need. We've never need that, but I think that's a great idea that's been out there too. So you can go in and tell your story to these bankers. Because like you said, there's a lot of money out there right now.
Hey, we've got the North Star Real Estate Conference coming April 24th and 25th in Minneapolis. And this conference is going to be for everyone. We're covering the gamut of real estate. If you are just beginning, this conference is for you. If you have 100, 200, 500 units, this conference is for you. If you want to get into commercial real estate, this conference is for you. And the best part about the North Star Real Estate Conference is the networking. The networking is phenomenal. We've got high performers there. We've got amazing speakers and amazing attendees that are going to be adding a ton of value to your business. We can't wait to see you there April 24th and 25th. Check it out. I'll see you there. Yeah, I think whether it's a book or just a bio or, a list of properties, I mean, you want to be tracking what you're doing. So that way you can not only tell the banker, but the banker that you're going to be talking to is kind of the face, right? And then they have to go to their committees and get all the approval. Now they can help push, but if there's a story that they can tell and that they can visually show everybody, that's going to help you get there a lot quicker, I think. So yeah, if you have those pictures, if you put together a book or a whatever, any kind of marketing, I think that's going to be very helpful.
It is. Yeah, we ended up getting to the point where we wouldn't need any money down. They would carry all the reconstruction costs, and it worked out great. So again, as you do one property, they're going to test the waters. As you do more and more and more, they become more comfortable, and their opportunities, because you start doing one every 4 months. Pretty soon, how are you going to come up with the downswing? Plus, it needs 15,000 renovations. How is it all going to happen? And it's time that you can spend with those bankers, work with them, and hear what others have done, but then and present those options and ideas to them. But also listen to the bankers. Sometimes they'll get creative for you too.
Yeah, good point. A lot of times the bankers have stuff up their sleeve to be able to help you get there. It's not always conventional, right? It's not always we got to put the 25% down payment and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes we get a lot of other opportunities that the lenders can get you into these properties for a lot less money. I mean, I remember one of my very first bankers, he was able to get me refinanced out of these first properties I bought, was able to get me all my money back, and has said, here's a better way. Let's do it this way. And I was able to essentially get these property. I did need some money, but by the time we were done renovating them and getting them tenanted, we got all the money back with very, very little cost. It was so unreal, the type of lending. I mean, this was right during 2009. Like nobody was touching real estate. So there's ways to get creative. There's the right bankers and there's the wrong bankers, and you just need to build those relationships. And it sounds like you're just really determined to get this going and actually achieve your goals. Take us through that determination. Like why did you want to continue to push on when it might have been difficult? I mean, 2009, 2010, those are tough times to get real estate, even though prices were great.
It was, and that's probably the biggest thing, is overcoming your fears. Obviously hindsight's 2020. And when I spoke before of buying a house every 4 months, and we should have bought 3 every month or more. But you step into it and everything's kind of in turmoil, and you don't know what is coming. So we would want to buy one, fix it, get them rented. Okay, now we're at ease. Let's do this again. And it worked, and it went very quick. So now you can look back in hindsight and know that we should have done more. But the biggest thing is being cautious and making sure that you don't overstep your own boundaries and get yourself in trouble, because that will take the fun out of it. And it's just drive. I just love real estate. I've had a love and a passion for real estate since I was in my upper teens, and I wanted to be involved. I wanted to do it. I've seen family members do it. So that was my drive, and it was. You look at your life, and I used to spend all my time hunting, fishing, and being outside and doing this and that. And pretty soon my priorities switched. Instead of, after work, going fishing, going hunting, I wanted to go and work on a rental. it was just satisfying to see a finished product, and then to look at back at your balance sheet and watch that grow. You know, it's as you've heard before. You know, it's not a get rich quick. It's a get rich over or get wealthy over time, and it's very true.
Yeah, very, very true. And those who are trying to get rich quick on real estate, I think ultimately maybe they can do it, but is it long lasting? Is it going to be there when a recession does happen? I think a lot of people that get rich quick end up finding themselves on the wrong end of the fence when the recession does happen, and they wonder, you know, how did that happen? Where do we go? And I've talked to a lot of people through this podcast and through just meeting people that had lost it all during our last recession, which a lot of people did. And it's kind of the same theme. Look, they're just trying to go out there. They're buying too much. They're trying to get rich quick, and they weren't paying attention to the business fundamentals. They weren't paying attention to what was really going on. And they were just trying to get rich, and that's it. And they didn't really pay attention to the cash flow, as you said. Like, oh no, I can buy a property and it's breaking even. I'm going to buy that because it's more real estate, right? It looks good on my balance sheet. Oh, I'm going to refinance this property. I'm going to pull it appraised for $200,000. So I'm going to pull every last penny I can out of there, even though I don't cash flow anymore, but it gives me a bunch of cash up front. I mean, really, what kind of choices are you making today to set yourself up for in the future? And that's what you're looking at, like the slow game. Look, you're building this one brick at a time.
That's right. Yeah, I'd rather sleep well at night than be nervous about losing it all.
And your wife probably appreciates that.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So Mike, what are you doing right now today? And like, where are you trying to take this business? You know, give us kind of an insight of your goals going forward.
Yeah, I would love, to be honest, I'd love another 500 units. That is definitely where I'd love to be.
So how are you going to get there? If you're going to do one at a time, how are you going to get there? Is there an idea of, okay, look, maybe let's buy a 20 unit or a 50 unit or even 100 unit?
And that's exactly right. And so, setting goals, making a vision board, and having pictures of those bigger apartment buildings. And that is my goal. I've ran some numbers on a 27 unit, 24, a couple 12s, again, locally, trying to make them work, trying to make them pencil. So that's where I want to be. Obviously the market is just not allowing me to do it. And I'm okay with it. I have a goal, but I'm not gonna do it on a risk and on a whim just to try to make it there. I'm definitely going to keep on building relationships. And on being a passive investor too, if the opportunities aren't here at home, doing more on the passive side of things too, and taking advantage of that to be a part of additional units. But no, I definitely want to keep on building relationships and working hard to acquire more units. And if it's one a year, I'll be fine with that because in the near future, financially, it's all making sense. So I'll be happy wherever I end up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's some more golden nuggets. I mean, you want to get the 500 units, you want to get there, but you realize that it's going to be difficult to do it again quickly. I mean, as we talk about the long game versus the short game, you realize that, hey, the numbers got to work. They got to scrub out, and you don't want to buy anything that's going to kick you in the end. So if it doesn't work, you're willing to be patient. You don't look like you're 80, 85. So it looks like you got a lot of time left.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Definitely have a lot more time to invest in real estate.
Yeah, exactly. So any more kind of nuggets, little tips you can give our listeners who are kind of in the same shoes as you? I mean, so many of us have, full-time jobs and we just can't figure out, okay, how do we get started? Any other nuggets that you can give our listeners?
For me, I like to call it putting my properties on autopilot. When we go in to buy a property, the first thing I want to do is and as you have properties, those things that are just going to get calls and to go in and fix them up front. When we started, again, you'd run around, look at Craigslist and buy washers and dryers and refrigerators online, and you can get them for, $100, $150 instead of paying $500 at the store. Well, you get them all set up and a week later, a month later, a year later, they're breaking down. It's just so important that even toilets, if you have an old toilets in there, and you're having to change out the guts in the toilet, the flapper, all these are either your time or a handyman's time to get in there and do it. It's well served me to go in there and fix those items up front. And I know, well, you don't know, but there's a good chance you're not going to be getting a call for a while. And it makes just a lot more sense to alleviate those phone calls. And the less phone calls you receive, the more fun the business is.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, what I call it bulletproofing my rentals. I like to go in and, you know what, for just a little bit more money, I can put in the LVP flooring versus carpet. For just a little bit more money, I can resand my hardwood floors versus throwing, anything over top of it. For just a little bit more, I can put a little bit better fixture in there. My plumber tells me, and I don't know how true this is, but he tells me Menards and Home Depot, their same faucet that he can get as a plumbing supply is all plastic parts at Menards and Home Depot, and his is all quality metal parts. For just a little bit more, I can get the better faucet. I can get the better toilet. I can get an actual washer or dryer that are brand new and that have a warranty on them, that manufacturer warranty. Yeah. So I've done the same way. I went from doing the Craigslist thing to the reuse centers to stuff like that, to going, is it really worth my time? Like, is it really worth my time to go run around and try to piecemeal this thing together? Or do I value my time more than that? And then is it worth my time in the end, or my maintenance person's time in the end, when I got to pay somebody or I got to do it myself to get to this property all the time to make these repairs that I just should have done right in the first place? Doing things right in the first place makes so much more sense.
Yeah. That saying of you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. After a while, you really see it. And again, when you get started, you just feel like you have to, because you just don't have that extra money. Yeah. You're working on a thinner budget. But if you have the ability to do it, just get those items fixed up front. One other, big thing is when it comes to paint. Boy, we used to think it was so great to paint this room that color and, set up a color scheme. Pretty soon, 2 years later, you have to touch it up or repaint it. It's like, where's that paint at? Now you have 40, 50 paint colors that you need to keep track of. Just find a color you like for the walls, find a color for the trim, and stick to it. That way, you keep it on hand by the 5-gallon pail, and you know what color it's going to be.
What really pained me is, I can't remember how many years ago. It was maybe 8 years ago now, 7, 8 years ago. They changed I think it's called the VOC levels of the paint, and none of the paint colors matched anymore. So we had everything picked out a certain color, and when we tried to go and just do some touch-ups, it was always a different. And so then we had to repaint every single property. But yeah, you're right. I mean, fixtures, all your plumbing fixtures, make them the same color throughout the board, throughout every single property. Doorknobs, simple as doorknobs. I mean, everything should be the same. Like, all of your front door knobs and back doors and entrance doors, they should be all the same, so you can easily rekey things. You can swap them out. We do a lot of lock swapping, stuff like that. I mean, it's just make things as simple as you can. Think about the systems like you've preached to put in place to help you out.
Yeah, Home Depot now has that, and maybe others do too, but they have that rekey. And that has been great. Being able to, you have a tenant move out, you can rekey it so simply with a little tool, change out, without having to go and tear everything apart. One more thing too, I just popped into my mind was, the sewer lines. If you're buying in an older part of town, make sure to work and talk with the city to see if they know how old those lines are. Is it galvanized coming into the house? What's the sewer line going back out to the street? The city streets might be brand new, but maybe the house that you're going to buy is Orangeburg clay tile. We even had one that passed recently, and at the joints, some roots came in, and anyways, I had a plumber come and dig it up, and he said, we found where it is. It's just in one joint. So if you're okay with it, we're just going to clean that up and we're going to bury it. I said, and I was like, no, dig it all up, put it all back, put PVC in it. I know this isn't going to happen. I'm going to own this house for at least 20 years. So just do it right. fix it.
Right.
So
Same thing with the water line coming in. We've bought houses that have lead coming in, and the city has forced us to replace it. And it's like, oh man, we didn't budget this $5,000 budget to get that done.
yeah, and these bigger towns, a lot of times they will know the age of the system coming into the house. They'll know what the lines are. So make that call to the public works department, the water department, whatever it might be, and see if they happen to know. Give them the address. A lot of times they can pull up all those reports.
Yeah, great advice. And get your sewer scopes too. I mean, yeah, it costs you a little bit of money, but it can save you a ton of money in the end.
It does. Yep. Yeah. For $250, it can save you thousands. If they have to dig out into the street, now they're replacing tar. It really adds up.
Especially when you're talking about larger municipalities that control that too, like the city of Minneapolis. You only have, I think it's 10 options for contractors. They control the contractors. Well, those contractors know it. They know they're one of the 10. They only got 10 people to compete against. Guess what? Their prices in the city of Minneapolis are going to be double what they are in any other suburb.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
All right. So I got a couple last questions that I want to hit on. What's a favorite book that you can pass on?
There's so many great ones. The most recent one I read, taxes are not my favorite thing, although the Tom Wheelwright put out a book called Tax-Free Wealth, and I really enjoyed that. Again, just to brush over and think of ideas to bring forth to the accountant that I use and ask him, how can I utilize this? Can I utilize this? That was a fun book. The Millionaire Next Door, and even people that we know, Jake and Gino, they have a great Wheelbarrow Profits, and Rod Khleif's book. I really enjoyed all those. But yeah, I've got quite a library, and there's a lot of great real estate books.
Yeah, definitely. Last question. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
First and foremost is family. I got a great wife, wonderful kids, and couldn't do without them. We've had a lot of fun because of the rentals. We ended up acquiring a lake cabin during the recession. And, every time we go, we talk about...
I've been there, and it's great.
Yeah, right. It's fun having you. Hopefully you guys see it again. And, so when we're dealing with rentals on nights or weekends and the kids are coming with, and they have fun, but now they know, well, this is why, because we get to go to the cabin.
Yep. So
family's first and foremost, and then having both passive and active income on the rental side, that has been a huge pillar. And, and just having the continuous hunger for knowledge and drive, and the want to keep moving. You have to have that to get ahead. And those are definitely the 3 that I think of.
Awesome. I love them. Well, Mike, I really appreciate the time you're able to spend with us and tons of value. Really, to me, inspirational, especially for those who, want to figure out, okay, where do I get started and want to, get to kind of a point where you're at. I think this was a lot of great information for those listeners and really for anybody that, wants to continue to grow their business. We talked a lot of systems and scale too. So really some of this stuff is applicable for people who are even trying to scale even larger. So a lot of great stuff. How can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to chat a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you my email address, and it's mstrodtman, STRODTMAN @hotmail.com. Yeah, feel free to reach out.
Awesome, Mike. Appreciate it. You have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thanks, Todd. You too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to VentureD.com VentureDproperties.com, VentureDproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.